So Hare Krishna everyone. So we are very fortunate today to have His Grace Asitaradhya Prabhuji here amongst us on this Krishna Janmashtami Sravan Utsav. A brief intro about Prabhuji. So Prabhuji got introduced to Krishna consciousness in 2002 in Melbourne, and then he got initiated in 2005 again in Melbourne. And Prabhuji was running a very successful Bhakti Vriksha program, and he connected so many souls to Krishna consciousness in Melbourne through his very successful preaching. Commercially, Prabhuji was actually working as a group finance director in Melbourne, and at the age of 53, Prabhuji decided to give up his high-profile job, and he decided to retire at that point in time to concentrate on the spiritual life full-time. So Prabhuji has done Bhakti Shastri, he has done Bhakti Vaibhav, and currently he stays sometime in Vrindavan and sometime in Mayapur, and he travels to preach Bhakti Shastri and other courses. He has recently also been appointed as a Global Duty Officer for Finance by GBC body. This is for Worldwide ISKCON that he has been appointed. And today Prabhuji is going to be speaking directly from Vrindavan, where everyone is celebrating Krishna Janmashtami. So we are very, very fortunate to hear from him about Krishna directly from the land of Krishna. So please welcome Asitaradhya Prabhuji by loudly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then we will pass it on to Asitaradhya Prabhuji. Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Amrish Maharaj Prabhu. It's a wonderful chapter. We are reading from the 9th chapter of Krishna Book. So something about Krishna Book. Krishna Book is the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, written in a sandwich form. You know, we relish the sandwich not because of the pulp, but also because of the bread above it and the bread underneath. Right? If you actually remove the bread part and eat only the pulp, will you be able to relish the sandwich? If you remove the pulp and eat only the bread, will you be able to relish the sandwich? But no, the sandwich is relished because of the presence of the pulp sandwich, between the layer of the bread above and the below. So the Krishna Book is a very masterly and a genius presentation by Srila Prabhupada, who has presented the pastimes as a pulp and the tattva, that is the philosophy, as a bread above and the bread below. So when Srila Prabhupada writes Krishna Book, you enter with the knowledge of the philosophy. You enter into the pastime with some philosophy which is covering it. You read the pastime, and when you live the pastime, you live with some knowledge of the tattva. So generally, we are not allowed to read the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada says, do the systematic progression. Start from the first canto, finish the first 9 cantos, and then come to 10th canto. That is systematic study of Srimad Bhagavatam. But by his special mercy and by his divine vision, he produced the Krishna Book. So here we are, and this is obviously read, the temples across the world on the day of Janmashtami. So let's basically begin the reading. So, when I read, the way I wanted to give the class today is that I wanted to pull out the tattva, which is hidden behind the Leela. So there are some 13, 14 points which I came across while I was reading about this chapter again and again today, for just making a small talk. So let's go back to the Krishna Book and I'll start reading it. Chapter 9, Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna. Once upon a time, seeing that her maid servant was engaged in different household duties, Mother Yashoda personally took charge of churning butter. And while she churned the butter, she sang the childhood pastimes of Krishna and enjoyed thinking of her son. So the 2 points of application. What are the 2 points of application? You may be a very rich person, right? Here is a queen of Vrindavan, right? Here is a queen of Vraja. Yashoda is recognized as Nanda Maharaja is a king of Vraja, right? Vrajendra Nandana. So while you are in a position to get the service done through a lot of the servants, do some devotional service yourself. You may be in a managerial position, right? And then you may have so many people, under you. I mean, this is a practical scenario within an ISKCON temple setup, but a temple president or a GBC or a GD or whatever it may be, you have to do some service physically yourself. Otherwise, it is not a devotional service. It is a management service. Second point, while she churned the butter, she sang the childhood pastimes of Krishna and enjoyed thinking of her son. So this is a direct teaching to all the mothers, right, who do without fail, this service on a daily basis, cooking bhoga for the Lord and offering to the Lord. So read some nectarian classes on the philosophy or pastimes of Krishna, sing some Vaishnava bhajans, or chant at least Sri Krishna Mahamantra. This is basically the second point of tattva which is coming out. So let's go further. The end of her sari was tightly wrapped while she churned, and on account of her intense love for her son, milk automatically dripped from her breast, which moved as she labored very hard, churning with the two hands. The bangles and bracelets on her hands tinkled as they touched each other, and her earrings and the breast shook. There were drops of perspiration on her face, and the flower garland which was on her head scattered here and there. Before this picturesque sight, Lord Krishna appeared as a child. Now see this. Krishna appeared as a child because the mother's breast, right, was dripping with the milk. And Krishna knows that this is the pure devotion, from the mother, which is getting vested in vain. And Krishna would not allow, basically, such a precious commodity, of his own, actually of his own pleasure and consumption to be vested. So he immediately appeared. So if you are serving Krishna, with love, then rest assured this pastime tells us that Krishna appears to accept the service. We may not be able to see, because this is a Prakat Leela. If you cook the bhoga with a devotion, Krishna is bound to accept it. So Krishna appeared over here. So that is a tattva over here. He felt hungry. And to increase his mother's love, he wanted her to stop churning. He indicated that her first business was to let him suck her breast, and then she could churn butter later. So here, the point of philosophy is that all devotional services are equally important or rank at par with one another, right? But the one that the spiritual master wants a disciple to do, that service should take a priority, and spiritual master sets a priority for his disciple, what he should serve first and what he should serve later. So always ask Guru. Here Krishna comes and tells the mother, let me suck the breast, and the churning of the butter can happen later. So spiritual master sets a priority, and that service becomes more important. Further, Mother Yashoda took her son on her lap and pushed the nipple of her breast into his mouth. And while Krishna was sucking the milk, she was smiling, enjoying the beauty of her child's face. Suddenly, now here comes a turning point. And while Krishna was sucking the milk, she was smiling and enjoying the beauty of her child's face. So here, the point is, as far as the pure devotee is concerned, the whole body of a pure devotee is a Leela Sthali, is a place of pastime for the Supreme Lord. Krishna is always surrounded by the devotees in Vrindavan. And in all the cases, whether he is with his gopis, or with his the cowherd boyfriends, or with his parents, there is always interaction with the bodies of the devotees by the Lord for the purpose of the pastimes. So this point, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also highlighted to Sanatana Goswami by telling that the property of a pure devotee, the body of a pure devotee is the property of Krishna and is meant for his own enjoyment, right? And this point is just coming out over here. Suddenly the milk, note this word, the milk which was on the stove began to boil over. And just to stop the milk from spilling, Mother Yashoda at once put Krishna aside and went to the stove. Now here is a turning point of the Leela. Everything is going on very smoothly. Krishna is enjoying, basically sucking the breast of his mother, and Mother Yashoda is enjoying, looking at his, nice face, and she's so much satisfied. And she has put aside basically the churning job at the request of Krishna. So wonderful. But suddenly, so this is a turning point. Now what has happened is that in the spiritual world, Acharyas are explaining that everything is conscious. Even the milk is conscious. And this is not an ordinary milk. This milk is coming from the Surabhi cows who are fed the special grass called a Pushpagandha grass. Pushpagandha grass means a grass with a flavor. And when the cows, the Surabhi cows, eat this, grass, their milk comes out with a flavor. And this flavor is transmitted into all the sweets and the milk preparations that the mother does for Krishna and ultimately enhances Krishna's pleasure. It's a very special milk. And Mother Yashoda can't afford this milk to be wasted because it was overflowing. Now, why it was overflowing? It was overflowing out of a transcendental envy. Because as soon as the milk saw that Krishna is accepting the milk, from the breast of Mother Yashoda, there is a transcendental envy that our lives is useless. We are meant to be consumed by Krishna, but here is Krishna, right, taking the bhoga from our mother, and as if my life has no value, so let me die. And the milk is overflowing. And that's how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the whole pastime. And this is the insight that only acharyas can basically just give us. So Mother Yashoda went there. She put Krishna down, and just look what happens. Krishna became very angry, and his lips and eyes became red in rage. He pressed his teeth and lips, and taking up a piece of stone, he immediately broke the butter pot. He took butter out of it, and with false tears in his eyes, he began to eat the butter in a secluded place. The question arises, did Mother Yashoda commit an offense by putting Krishna down? What was her fault? There is a slight fault, but there is no offense here. She wanted to protect the Pushpagandha milk so that she can make the sweetmeats for the pleasure of Krishna. So obviously, it was part of her service to Krishna that she goes and takes the milk from the overflowing pan and just keep it aside. She did the right job. But in the process, she had to put Krishna down. So that pleasant service to Krishna got interrupted, right? And there was a selfish motivation, not a selfish motivation, but there was a devotional motivation to save the milk. And immediately Krishna started thinking, is milk more important than me? If the ultimate purpose is to serve me, right? I'm already with my mother and she's serving me. Yet she recognizes to save the milk is more important than basically feeding the milk. And this makes Krishna angry. But try to understand that this is a transcendental angry, and this anger is sprouting out of love for the mother, right? It is not a material anger at all. This anger is a transcendental anger, and because he loves his mother so much, he cannot basically tolerate the mother putting him down and go towards the milk. So these are points. These are actually points of these are the points of transcendental understanding. Yeah. So he immediately broke the butter pot. He took the butter out of it, and with false tears in his eyes, he began to eat the butter in a secluded place. Now let's go further. In the meantime, Mother Yashoda returned to the churning place after setting the overflowing milk pan in order. She saw the broken pot in which the churning yogurt had been kept. Since she could not find a boy, she concluded that the broken pot was his work. She smiled as she thought the child is very clever. After breaking the pot, he has left this place fearing punishment. So after she sought all over, she found the son sitting on a big wooden grinding mortar, which was kept upside down. Now, he was taking butter from a pot which was hanging from the ceiling on a swing, and he was feeding it to the monkeys. Now, the point over here is that Krishna is always surrounded by his devotees, and is always in a position either he's served by the devotees or he's serving the devotees. Now, in this case, he's serving the monkeys. And just look at what happens. She saw Krishna looking this way and that way in fear of her, because he was conscious of his naughty behavior. After seeing the son so engaged, she very silently approached him from behind. Silently means Krishna should not have, any perception of a sound. Otherwise, he will become careful and she will not be able to catch him. But Krishna still understood that. How? Because Krishna saw the image of Mother Yashoda holding the stick in the eyes of the monkey that he was feeding. So as soon as the monkey was there and he was accepting the butter, the monkey moved his eyes and he saw that mother is coming with a stick. Now in Vrindavan, when we walk around, you will find many people holding the stick in their hand to drive the monkeys away. And monkeys are scared of the sticks, right? Because they get beaten. So here the monkey saw, the stick, and the monkey looked at Mother Yashoda, and Krishna looked at the eye of the monkey, and he saw the image of, mother holding the stick, and immediately jumped on the grinding mortar and ran. So that is what actually happened. So Mother Yashoda chased him to all the corners, trying to capture the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never approached even by the meditations of the great yogis. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who is never caught by the yogis and speculators, was playing just like a little child for such a great devotee as Mother Yashoda. So here the point of philosophy is that the great Vedantists, right, who have captured the essence of Vedanta Sutra, the perfect, mystics who have mastered all the 8 mystics, who have actually mastered all the 8 mystic siddhis, they come nowhere close to Mother Yashoda. She does not have either the mystic siddhis or the knowledge of a Vedanta, yet the Supreme Lord is playing. So here the devotee is glorified by both the Jnanis and mystics siddhis. This point is easy to understand. So Mother Yashoda, however, could not easily catch the fast-running child because of a thin waist and heavy body. Still, she tried to follow him as fast as possible. Her hair loosened, and the flowers in her hair fell to the ground. Although she was tired, she somehow reached a naughty child and captured him. And when he was caught, Krishna was almost on the point of crying. He smeared his hands over his eyes, which were anointed with black eye cosmetics. The child saw his mother's face while she stood over him, and his eyes became restless from fear. Now, this is very important point over here. None other than Mother Kunti is bewildered, by this pastime. Both Kunti and Yashoda are in Vatsalya Rasa. But one has a conception that Krishna is God, and the other has a conception that Krishna is my little child and he always needs my protection at all stage. Unalloyed Vatsalya. And why Krishna was fearful of the mother? Because his mother could actually beat him. And nobody could dare to do that other than Mother Yashoda. She only had the power not only to capture Krishna but to beat him. And he had a stick in the hand, and Krishna knows that my mother doesn't know that I am the supreme absolute truth, all pervading truth, blah blah blah. And she only knows that I'm child. She has a pure love for me, and out of that pure loving devotion, she only accepts me as a child. And because of my naughty behavior, she's bound to punish me. She's going to actually hit me with a stick. And Krishna actually became afraid, and he had real tears in his eyes. So try to understand this point, that Krishna understands the pure loving devotion of the residents of Vrindavan, and he immediately comes under that control. This is Krishna under the control, hiding his eyes with a fear, taking his face away and showing all signs of fear by way of tears in his eyes. His pearl necklace shook. We see all this description in Damodar Ashtakam, because he actually knows that my mother could beat me. Nobody else, has this power. What happened when Krishna was dying and eventually was tied up with a grinding mortar? Balram comes. This is very interesting. And Balram comes and he cannot see Krishna in this position. Now, Balram is fully aware that Krishna is a Supreme Personality of God. And he says, Krishna, who the hell has done this to you? Right? And Krishna says, Mother Yashoda. And Balram says, oh my God, I can't do anything to her. So Balram goes to it. Balram thinks that, okay, Mother Yashoda thinks Krishna is a child, but let me give her some knowledge. So he goes to Yashoda and tells, and he starts screaming on the top of his voice, hey, do you know who is Krishna? He's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Ananta Sesha, who is holding millions of universes like the mustard seed actually on his hood, is just my plenary portion. And I am a plenary portion of Krishna. How powerful Krishna is. And you bound him up. So Mother Yashoda listens to this lecture, for a while. And she raises the same stick and comes out and says, why the hell all supreme personalities have to be born into my house? And she comes with basically the stick in her house and, actually out of the house, and Balram runs away. So this is pure loving Vatsalya devotion. Mother Yashoda could understand that Krishna was unnecessarily afraid, and for his benefit, she wanted to allay his fears. Being the topmost well-wisher of her child, Mother Yashoda thought, if the child is too fearful of me, I don't know what will happen to him. So Mother Yashoda then threw away her stick. In order to punish him, she thought to bind his hands with some ropes. So here is a point for the mothers, that if you have a young child, right, you should never slap or beat the child. Little bit of, pats on the buttocks is fine, but that's all. You can raise your voice. You can show the anger through your eyes. You can warn him, through, the signs. But don't make him fearful enough. The child should develop a healthy fear of the parents, but should not be scared. That's the point which is coming out over here. And Mother Yashoda is teaching that I don't know what will happen to him if the child is too fearful of him, right? So the children should have healthy fear of the parents, but they should not be scared of the parents, right? Mother Yashoda was thinking that Krishna was a tiny child, and she did not know that the child had no limitation. There is no inside or outside of him, no beginning or end, because she has no tinge of Aishwarya at all. He is unlimited and all-pervading. Indeed, he is himself and the whole cosmic manifestation. Still, Mother Yashoda was thinking of Krishna as a child. Although he is beyond the reach of all senses, she endeavored to bind him to a wooden grinding mortar. But when she tried to bind him, she found that the rope she was using was too short by 2 inches. And she gathered more ropes from the house and added to it, but still she found the same shortage. In this way, she connected all the ropes available at home, but when the final knot was added, she saw that the rope was still 2 inches too short. Mother Yashoda was smiling, but she was astonished. How was it happening? Now here, the big point of philosophy comes, and the acharyas are explaining about this, that in this pastime, or probably in all the leelas of Krishna, the two of his energies work in conjunction with one another. One is called Aishwarya Shakti, and another is called the Kripa Shakti. So the Leela Shakti has got 2 parts, the Aishwarya portion and the Kripa portion. So when Mother Yashoda decided to bind Krishna, right, and Krishna did not want to be bound, understand this, it is Krishna's desire not to be bound at this stage. So his Aishwarya Shakti became very powerful. So she was pulling rope after rope. She ordered all the maid servants, collect all the ropes from the cowshed. And she went to the extent of sending them to the houses in Vraja and said, get the rope from basically everyone. This child must be bound today, right? This was her, the fun desire. And Krishna didn't want to be bound. So the Aishwarya Shakti was acting according to the desire of Krishna. He didn't want to be bound. So all the gopis basically came over there and they were watching this pastime, and everybody was laughing and everybody was astonished, and everybody was surprised that Krishna is not getting bound, because the rope were actually shrinking and they were 2 inches too short. Means you can't put a final note. You require the 2 inches to make a note, correct? So that note was not happening. And at that stage, Mother Yashoda became extremely tired. Now, in attempting to bind her son, she became tired. She was perspiring, and the garland on her head fell down. Then Lord Krishna appreciated the hard labor of his mother, and being compassionate upon her, he agreed to be bound up by the rope. So now what has happened is that she has done all the endeavor to bind Krishna, but she cannot bind. And she, at this stage, Mother Yashoda understands that she cannot bind Krishna, right? You cannot bind Krishna by your own desire. You can bind Krishna only by Krishna's desire. And she understands this point. So what happens is that in a mode of surrender, she begins to offer prayers to Krishna. And she requests Krishna to be bound up. And she's completely tired. And she has exhausted all the ropes. She has exhausted all the labor. And at that stage, Krishna becomes compassionate. So as soon as Krishna becomes compassionate to his devotee, Aishwarya Shakti becomes subdued and his Kripa Shakti becomes prominent. So Kripa Shakti took charge over Aishwarya Shakti. And what did she do? The only rope that was left was a small rope that was tying her hairs. So she loosened her hairs. She took out that rope. And when she tried to bind Krishna's belly, the rope expanded. See, the big ropes were shrinking, but this rope expanded and Krishna was bound. Why? Because now the Kripa Shakti was there. So when Kripa Shakti, so which is actually more powerful potency between the two? The Kripa Shakti is more powerful than the Aishwarya Shakti, right? So the Madhurya feature of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan is more powerful than his Aishwarya features. And try to understand this point. And so where are we? So then Krishna allowed himself to be bound. So the two fingers too short is Acharyas are explaining that one is the endeavor, and endeavor is always followed by the mercy. But between the endeavor and the mercy, there is a prayer from the pure devotee to the Krishna in the mode of unalloyed surrender. So this is actually hidden or implicit. So there is endeavor, there is mercy, and endeavor is followed by the prayer, and then Krishna's Kripa Shakti becomes prominent, Aishwarya Shakti becomes subdued, and a small rope that is enough to tie the hairs can bind basically Krishna's belly. How wonderful. So he agreed to be bound up by the ropes. Krishna, playing as a human child in the house of Mother Yashoda, was performing his own selected pastimes. Of course, no one can control the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The pure devotee surrenders himself unto the lotus feet of the Lord, who may either protect or vanquish the devotee, but for his part, the devotee never forgets his own position of surrender. This is the last verse of Siksastakam, where the mood of Radharani is exhibited, whether Krishna embraces me or make me broken-hearted. I'm always surrendered devotee, surrendered to fulfill his desire. Similarly, the Lord also feels transcendental pleasure by submitting himself to the protection of the devotee. This was exemplified by Krishna's surrender unto his mother Yashoda. Krishna is the supreme bestower of all kinds of liberation to his devotees. But the benediction which was bestowed upon Mother Yashoda was never experienced even by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, or the goddess of fortune. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the son of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, is never so completely known to the yogis and speculators, but is easily available to his devotees, nor is he appreciated as the supreme reservoir of all pleasure by the yogis and speculators. After binding her son, Mother Yashoda engaged herself in household affairs. At that time, bound up to the wooden mortar, Krishna could see a pair of trees before him, which were known as Arjuna trees, the great reservoir of pleasure. Lord Sri Krishna thus thought to himself, Mother Yashoda first of all left without feeding me sufficiently. And therefore I broke the pot of yogurt and distributed the stock butter in charity to the monkeys. Now she has bound me up to a wooden mortar, so I shall do something more mischievous than before. And thus he thought of pulling down the two very tall Arjuna trees. You must be aware, I'm sure, that the Arjuna tree has got one characteristic. Arjuna is a very tall tree, and the root of Arjuna tree is as tall as the height of the tree itself. So for example, if the Arjuna tree is say 100 meters high, the root is 100 meters deep. So you can imagine that how powerful. So when Krishna makes a point about his prowess and the power, he actually does not pick up ordinary trees. He actually picks up Arjuna trees. And now his Aishwarya Shakti becomes prominent. And just by the touch of his grinding mortar, he shakes both the trees down. So there is a history behind the pair of Arjuna trees. In the previous lives, the trees were born as the human sons of Kuvera, and the names were Nala Kuvera and Manigriva. Fortunately, they came within the vision of the Lord in their previous lives. They were cursed by the great Saint Narada in order to receive the highest benediction of seeing Lord Krishna. This benediction curse was bestowed upon them because of their forgetfulness due to intoxication. And this story will be narrated in the next chapter. So I think my job was to read the whole 9th chapter and give the points of philosophy. And basically the points of Tattva, just coming out of the class. It is coming to 1:59 my time, so it must be 8:59 your time, probably over there in New Zealand. And I just want to see whether I've covered all the points which I, just noted down. And I think I did. So if anybody is having any questions or you want to ask something, then actually you can ask. But before you ask, let me actually, tell you one thing, that the Krishna book, right, is meant to be read by each one of us at night, 1 page a day, especially with your, if you have a child, young child, read a page, and the child will grasp the philosophy so well, and he will develop the affection for Krishna. We have seen this, in the example of Arun Sriniketan, right? That we got into the habit of, in Melbourne, we got into the habit of reading one page of Krishna book every day night, and Sriniketan became the devotee. So it's a very, very powerful book. It's a very powerful reading, and just don't leave the book aside. Once you finish it, start it again. Sriniketan does that. As soon as he has finished reading one volume, he goes to the second volume. He has finished second volume, he goes back to the first volume again. So thank you, everybody. It's exactly 9 o'clock. If there is any comment or basically any questions, I would like to take it.
Thank you very much, Asitaradhya Prabhuji. We lost your video in between. So yeah, now we are back. So thank you very much for your wonderful class. And let us see if anyone has any questions. Yes, Kirtivanta Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Asitaradhya Prabhu. Dandavat pranams.
Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Very nice class today. Prabhuji, I have a question going right to the beginning, where you mentioned, regarding like management services within ISKCON and also doing devotional service. Is that
Yes.
Doing the management service, that you should do devotional service as well? So my confusion is management service within ISKCON not considered also part of devotional service, or?
Yes, of course. Management service is considered as Pada Sevanam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So management service comes within the fold of Pada Sevanam, worshipping the lotus feet. And the Pada Sevanam includes all the devotees, right from the person washing the pot in, the pot shed, to the Brahmana who is cooking, the bhoga in the deity kitchen, to the Brahmana who is offering the arti on the altar, and to the temple president, who is overall doing the management of the temple. So this is Pada Sevanam, and all the services rank par at actually one another, and they are all performing the devotional services. But the point is that, if you are in a very exclusive position of a management, you should still perform some devotional service yourself. Like, the temple president should not think that my job is simply to run the temple. No, he should go and give the classes. We know that they do, right? He should read Bhagavad Gita regularly. He should visit the dhams and associate with the Vaishnavas and hear from the advanced devotees and learn how we can improve basically the services. And he should basically, just worship the deity either in the temple or at home. So, apart from our, the services that actually we may have either in the organization of the ISKCON or actually outside of it. For example, we could be distributing prasadam or, just whatever. We should be doing some basic devotional service ourselves. Yes, everybody chants the holy name because we have taken a vow, but other services should also be performed. They're all Pada Sevana. Does it answer the question?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much for the clarification.
Thank you. Brilliant question. Good.
Next question is from Bharadwaja Shri Prabhuji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat pranam. Excellent narration of the pastime, Prabhuji. And, it's always so, heartening to hear Krishna's pastime with the philosophy. So that makes a big difference. The relishment is like totally at a different level. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for that. And Prabhuji, my question is, sometimes, we have been hearing Krishna's pastime for the past 8 days, 9 days now. So, yesterday especially, Krishna tried to show his universal form from the, from his mouth. Why is he trying to show that? What is he trying to prove? Because see, he shows, and then Mother Yashoda gets bewildered. I mean, today I learned the two new words that Aishwarya Shakti and Kripa Shakti. Why does he have to show that Aishwarya Shakti and then immediately Yogamaya covers her up, and then that with her Kripa, it's like why is he trying to do that?
Okay, just actually before he showed the universal form, Krishna was asked a question: did you eat the dirt? He said no. No, the other cowherd boys have complained that you ate the dirt. So Krishna is telling, no, they actually lost against me in the game. Say, okay, so they lost against you in the game, but what about Dauji? Dauji never tells lies. Dauji loves you. Dauji told me Balram told me that you ate the dirt. Now, did you eat the dirt or not? So he says, no, Dauji is also lying. So how can Dauji lie? He says, Dauji is lying because all the boys fed him with the laddus. and actually they told him that you have to go. So now all these boys, including Dauji, they've conspired against me. Now Krishna is defending himself. Now Mother Yashoda is not accepting. Now there is actually the dirt in his mouth, right? Because he has taken, the Bhumi, he has glorified Bhumi by putting the remnants and put into his mouth. So the Mother Yashoda is telling, open your mouth now, right? Now this is the final test. And Krishna knows that if she finds the dirt, then he's going to get a slap, right? Now, since everything is within Krishna, Krishna gave an answer, I didn't eat the dirt. Now that answer is correct and incorrect. It is incorrect because he took the dirt. Right? And it is correct because Krishna actually cannot eat anything. Everything is within him. So how can he eat actually anything? So Krishna gave a correct answer as well. But he knows that there are some pieces of, whatever, the saint, the braj raj in his mouth. And if Mother Yashoda sees that, what is she going to do? She's going to slap him. So now it was a time for the Aishwarya Shakti to manifest some bewilderment for Mother Yashoda. So Krishna decided to exhibit out of his special mercy the universal form.
Right.
And she completely forgot about this. And after, she saw the universal form and she saw herself sitting, on the bank of Brahmanda garden in Gokula and Krishna there. And she got shocked of this vision. And she immediately asked Krishna, shut your mouth, right? She, out of anger, she asked him to open the mouth. And now she's asking, shut your mouth immediately. And she forgot everything about it. So here Yogamaya is also intercepting and Krishna is trying to protect himself because he knows he can get a slap. Here in this pastime, Krishna knows that he can be beaten, right? So these are the real tears. Kunti cannot understand this because Kunti does not have a pure Vatsalya. And Krishna knows that this mother, this Yashoda does not know I am a supreme person. I can get a stick, and he has never tested the stick from actually anybody before. No one has beaten Krishna. And as a child, you actually don't want to get beaten, correct?
Yes.
So Krishna really started crying out of fear. He thought that he could be beaten. And, there is nothing much he can do about it. So that's the reason he displayed the universal form. It's a very sweet pastime, right? But this is what it is. Open the mouth now. I want to see. There's a real dirt. And then she would have smacked him. And Krishna knows that it would happen. So he opened and completely bewildered her by showing the spectrum of the entire creation.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice. Thank you very much.
It's a very nice question. It's an esoteric question, the question of an esoteric nature. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Very
Asitaradhya
inquisitive,
Prabhuji.
very inquisitive, intelligent devotees, of Wellington, New Zealand congregation under the leadership of His Grace Amrish Maharaj Prabhu. And thank you very much for engaging me in this, the meditation. In fact, this pastime is going to be the point of, the meditation for the rest of the Janmashtami today. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Asitaradhya Prabhuji, there is one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
It's from Pundrikaksha Prabhuji. Pundrikaksha Prabhuji,
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Asitaradhya Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Yeah, you're such an inspiration for all of us with your explanations, Prabhuji. It's so depth. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for that. And today's lecture also amazing lecture, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a question in the very first point that you said. If we are serving Krishna with love, rest assured Krishna accepts your service. So how do we know that Krishna is accepting our service, Prabhuji? Because sometimes we may see some challenges, sometimes we may see some failures, some setbacks. But how do we understand Krishna is accepting our service? Whenever the setback comes, we may think that, oh, Krishna may not be happy with our service. Maybe that's why he's slapping us, right? But how to understand that, Prabhuji?
Well, the pure devotee is always in a state of happiness, no matter what the situation is, because his services are accepted. Now, we are conditioned devotees, we are not yet pure. But if we actually, follow the footsteps of the pure devotee, right? If we try to follow the instructions of the pure devotee and execute the service, then we also become very joyful and happy. And that happy state of mind tells that Krishna has accepted the service. See, by actually performing some seva, like for example, by chanting, right, you become very blissful because you have heard the holy name very attentively. By reading basically some chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam, you become happy. Why? Because you have read it very analytically. By dressing your deity very nicely, you become happy because the deity is looking very gorgeous. So you're putting your best efforts to your actually abilities. You followed the instructions of the senior Vaishnavas who are guiding you. And as a result of that, you become happy. So that means since you followed the instructions of the devotees, Krishna will accept your service. And because Krishna has accepted your service, you become happy. So the test is whether you become happy as a result of rendering the service or not. Now, after chanting, for example, you're still morose, you're still sad, you immediately understand that, your 2 hours have been wasted because while chanting, you didn't hear Krishna's name properly. You are not attentive in your chanting, right? Even after reading Bhagavatam, you're not enthused to read Bhagavatam more, right? Because you didn't pay enough attention to it. So when you follow the instructions of the pure devotee, right, and try to actually perform the service, it will always create a pleasure for you because it is pleasing Krishna. If it is pleasing Krishna, then only you will become pleased. And that's how you understand that Krishna is pleased by my seva.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Excellent.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, there is one more hand which has gone up again. Kirtivanta Prabhuji, you have
Sure.
another question?
Yes, Prabhuji, I do. Asitaradhya Prabhu, if you have time and if you don't need to go, then may I ask?
Sorry?
If you have time, Prabhu, to answer.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, the question has arisen in my mind because of the question Bhargava Rishi Prabhu raised, and then your deep philosophical and devotional answer to that last question. I want to go all the way back to when Lord Sri Krishna took birth from Devaki Mata's womb, and we know that Vasudeva transferred Lord Krishna to Vrindavan, to Yashoda Mata. I want to know, because Devaki Mata and Vasudeva, they knew that this is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna showed himself in the four-handed form and then in the child form. What was the deeper meaning behind Vasudeva having to transfer him himself? Because we know that they knew that he was the Lord. He could have transferred him and Yogamaya in the different directions. Why did he engage Vasudeva? Because no one else in between came as well to be able to see that happen.
So you meant to say why the four-arm form, just manifested? Is that the question?
No, I want to know why Vasudeva transferred Krishna to Gokul and not Krishna just do it himself. Because in that Leela, apart from Devaki Mata and Vasudeva, no one else knew that Lord Krishna was born and no one else knew that the transfer was happening. So
Correct.
that could have happened automatically. What was the deeper meaning behind Vasudeva physically having to take him to Gokul?
Yes. So Krishna had to fulfill the desire of Devaki and Vasudeva that he will appear from the womb of Devaki. So, he did that. And Krishna has to perform until certain years his Kaumari and Pauganda Leela and part of the Kaishora Leela. Basically, all the 3 Leelas, the 3 principal, the Leela periods is Kaumariya, Pauganda, and, this. So these Vrindavan pastimes are very, very unique and special. And they had to be performed over there before he would come to Mathura and engage in his duties as the king and the kingmaker, and we actually know all about it. So that is the reason that Krishna had to transfer over there. Now, both the Vasudeva Krishna has appeared. Now, how can one person take birth from 2 mothers? Krishna has solved this mystery because both Nanda and Yashoda also wanted that, and Vasudeva and Devaki also wanted that. So Krishna appeared into the prison, asked Vasudeva to transfer into the Gokul. He appeared from the womb of Yashoda, and the Vasudeva Krishna, which was born from the womb of Devaki, he merged into the Vrindavan Krishna, who appeared from the womb of Mother Yashoda. He performed the pastime for that 11 or 12 years in actually Vrindavan, and then he stayed in Vrindavan in the aprakat form, and the Vasudeva Krishna basically came all the way to just Mathura along with Akrura. So it is Vasudeva Krishna who killed Kamsa. And it is the various incarnations who were present within Vrindavan Krishna. They killed the various demons while the demons were attacking, because when Krishna appears, he appears with all his incarnations. So all his incarnations, would come, vanquish all the demons. And Krishna, the Vrindavan Krishna, his original nature, right, is to be in association with the devotees and enjoy the pastimes with them. So there is an esoteric reason. He had to fulfill his promise of appearing as a son in the same incarnation to actually both sets of parents. And that's how he just resolved it. That I will appear from the womb of Devaki and I will appear from the womb of, but I am just one person. So what will happen is that my appearance from the womb of Devaki, right, would be merged into my original form, that is Vrindavan Krishna. I will perform certain pastimes, and along with Akrura, the Vasudeva Krishna will go to Mathura, and I will be left behind in Vrindavan in Aprakat Leela. So you understand this? This is some, there are esoteric reasons why this happened.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asitaradhya Prabhuji. That was a very wonderful lecture, as well as a very excellent question and answer session as well. So that was very informative and inspiring. And it was most important was you have taken out time from your Janmashtami celebration to share these Leelas with us on this Janmashtami day. So we wish you a very happy Krishna Janmashtami in Vrindavan.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you.
To thank you, we will again chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But when you go to the temple, Prabhuji, please pray for us and on our behalf as well to Shri Radha Shamasundar, Gaur Nitai, and Krishna Balaram as well there. So let's chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to thank Prabhuji. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.